When the lights go up and the whistle blows, she's the calm in the storm, the one who knows. Behind every game, every call, every play, there's a wife holding it down every day. Welcome to Whistles and Wives, the MVPs behind the whistle.
Welcome to Whistles and Wives. I'm Sheka Espy, your host, and I'm joined by Mrs. Watson. This is Taryn Watson. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we're going to be talking about transition because you just had a big move. But for official intros, you are married to Coach Trey Watson, correct? And you guys are at TCU right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he is,
yes,
let me see if I can
are.
remember, safeties and special teams coordinator. Is that right?
He is safety coach and pass game coordinator.
Okay, awesome. We have to get those titles right.
Mm-hmm.
They earned
them. Yes. Defensive backs. He likes to be called a defensive backs coach because he doesn't like to be put in a box of just safeties or corners. But
that's a whole thing. Okay, that's the first time that I'm hearing that.
It's a whole thing. At our last school, well, he's had the whole secondary. So, sometimes the secondary is broken up into nickel safeties and corners. And sometimes you have coaches who are over it all. And maybe they have an assistant coach and whatnot. So he's been corners coach, safeties coach, and he's also had the whole secondary. So for him, it's just like, I'm a defensive backs coach. I'm like, all right, let me get your credentials right. Don't let me get your, right. Don't let me ruin your, defensive back. So, but he is at TCU. He is the safeties coach. And
you are teaching because my husband, he was a DB's coach, now coordinator, defense coordinator. But when we met, he was coaching on offense. So it's like been a complete change. So it's like a big learning curve. Like, what? Okay. So I'm trying to figure it all out. So it's good to know. Yeah,
when people switch up at the opposite sides of the ball, I'm always like, I feel like right when you get to understand fully one side, you go to the other side of the ball, and you're like, okay, listen.
It's so much. Okay.
It can be.
Let's go ahead and get into it. You guys just had a move. So you were here in California at UC Berkeley, and Trey got a call, right? And went through this whole interview process. So I know the interview process in football can be very different than what you would see at your corporate job. So take me through what that process was like for you. Like, he told you it's a potential, like what happens emotionally for you, the whole bit.
Yeah, you're a football coach's wife, so you understand transition season. Like, when it's time for coaches to transition, it's usually like more anxiety than other times of the year because you as a wife are like, am I about to do a cross country move? Am I about to stay put? Or am I about to move possibly up the street? Like, you just don't know. You don't know where you're going to go. Now, granted, there's contracts involved in a lot of these things. So a lot of times you can anticipate a move, but then there's other times where you really truly can't, meaning like you could have had signed a 3-year contract and then there's a school that comes and wants to buy you out of your contract, which has happened to us before, where we thought we were going to stay in a place and then we got bought out of our contract and we were in a different location a month later. And so transition season is very, I would say, sensitive. And also it's like, we always joke around with other wives, and I'm like, anytime his phone goes off and he takes a step away, I'm like, what is he coming back with? Like, what information? What school? I'm over here trying to eavesdrop. I'm just like, trying to see, because what is going on? Because, our husbands don't always, sometimes they have to make 3 or 4 calls before they make the call to you. And you're just like, what's going on? So, so we did get a phone call. That process is now we were at the end of our contract. And so at the end of our contract, but we were asked to stay by our previous school, but then we were called by a new school. And so that is best case scenario when you're at the end of a contract, because a school can come and get you cheap for
because
cheap.
you're up.
Technically,
Okay.
meaning they don't have to buy you out of a contract. And I say for cheap, meaning it's less for them, but should be more for you. Like you should be getting an increase in salary, but that buyout is not taking any of that increase. Now, I'll give an example. So if they bought you, let's say someone had a $100,000 contract, but then another school had to come and buy you out of that $100,000 contract, but then they also had to pay you a salary on top of that $100,000 contract. Maybe they can only afford to give you another 100 or another 200,000. And you just can't help but think, dang, would I have been able to pocket that 100 that they had to buy me out of it? So, so I always say when you're at the end of your contract, that's the best time to transition to a different school because
because you kind of get the most.
Yeah, you get the most. You're not bound into anything. And that school also doesn't have to look at you like they don't have to go back and forth like, okay, we got to buy them out of this. And then buyouts are different. Sometimes they're 100% of the contract, depending on the time. Sometimes it's 75% of the contract. Sometimes if you go up, meaning like you're at a mid-major school and then you're going up to a Power 5 school, sometimes there is no buyout because you're going up. But then there's a buyout if you go lateral. So buyouts and contracts are very detailed and intricate. And so in our case, we anticipated some sort of movement just because we had been at our university for 4 years and we knew that we were due for a new contract, whether it was from the school that we were at or a new school. But we just knew something was going to happen and something was going to change. So my husband he ended up getting a phone call from a new school. Now, from the moment you get a phone call, that's where it just gets dragged out. Like maybe you get a phone call, but it's not by the head coach directly. It's not maybe even by the defensive coordinator who's hiring you directly. Maybe it's just somebody on staff who said, hey, I know Trey Watson. Let me give him a call to like test out the waters, So that first phone call sometimes isn't even by the program, but it's just people filling you in like, hey, so-and-so was asking about you. So-and-so's like, it's a part of it. And so you're like, okay. So they're asking about me. So that's the first dragged out because you're like, okay, they're asking, but like, is there an interview? Like until you have it.
So does he include you into those early conversations?
Yes. So yes.
That's an emotional roller coaster.
It is emotional. I'm glad to have a husband who does include me as much as he can, but it also depends on the time of year. So say you're getting phone calls and it's end of January recruiting, you're all the way in Oklahoma. I may not be, you know what I mean? Like I still am getting secondhand information or sometimes thirdhand information because you're on the road. Like we're not always together when the transition season is going on. So like, right. I love when it's happening and he's home, like it's a down period, but sometimes it's not a down period. And then I think that's hard for them too, because imagine I'm getting phone calls as you should, right? I'm getting phone calls from other programs, but then I'm out with the logo on for my program that I'm currently still a part of, recruiting kids. And I'm sitting at home talking to their parents, knowing that I may not be here. There's a chance, right? And so that is something that a lot of these coaches have to go through, but you don't overplay or underplay your hand. You kind of have to stay professional. You see it through. And a lot of times their contracts aren't up. Maybe it's like end of January recruiting, they're getting phone calls from other people, but their contract is up in like 2 weeks. You still are it's like running through the line, like, track, like I'm not going to stop before that. I'm going to run through the line and finish out strong until I see that new contract from that new school. So, do you have any questions first? Because I'm going to go into it.
No, keep going.
So hopefully this is also, educational for some people, but, so first he gets that phone call about maybe like, hey, so-and-so is asking about you. So now it's like, okay, well, is the so-and-so coach going to call? And, because that's what you're waiting on. And then also you're waiting on that for more than one reason. It's because you can't go to your current employer, say you have a contract.
And tell them.
Yeah. So you have a contract that they gave you that you weren't happy with because the number wasn't, it wasn't talking to you like you wanted it to talk to you, right?
Right.
College football at this level, the leverage game is huge. So if you don't have anybody, it's like dating. If no one wants you, we're going to get you for what we get you for. But if we see that other people want you, that number may go up. Now, that's not for every program. That is for a lot of programs, though. The leverage game is big because they don't want to lose good coaches. And so you don't go prematurely also to your current employer and say, hey, so-and-so's inquiring about me until you do get that right phone call. So all that to say, there's a lot of thought put into all of this. Not only thought, it's just like time. So you first get that phone call, maybe so-and-so's interested, then maybe a couple days goes by. And let me tell you, a day is like a week, meaning you may have heard the first thing, like so-and-so's interested. If you don't hear anything for 24 hours, it feels like a week. It feels like, okay, well, that opportunity is gone. Like, you just don't know because a lot is happening. Meanwhile, and it doesn't always mean that no, they're not interested anymore. Sometimes there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that even they have to work through. Maybe they're letting go one of their coaches and they have to let them know, or, maybe they're waiting on a hire. They're waiting. One time we had a school interested in us, but the head coach was interested in hiring my husband, but he was like, but I still have to hire a defensive coordinator and have to respect the fact that he might want to bring somebody in your position that he trusts. And I have to, the coaches respect one another. They hire and they trust who their counterparts and who their employees want to hire to in those cases. So it's a lot. So you may not hear from them. So first you get that phone call and maybe it's a filler. Okay. And then the second step of that process, and I'll just speak from our most latest process, was nowadays schools are hiring GMs. They're hiring general managers to help manage NIL, to help, because I think they're getting to the point where, like, it's a lot on a head coach. And so it's almost putting in somebody who can handle the money, not only the money with players, but they're handling money with coaches too. They're handling the raises, they're handling the titles. So a lot of college, which has been like more prominent in the last year, are hiring general managers for their program. So if you get a call from a general manager, that means that you have an interview on the way. That's 9 times out of 10 means an interview is shortly coming after, because the general manager is going to fill you out. They're going to call you. They're going to see, would you be a good fit for this program? You may even talk to the general manager before you talk to the head coach in a lot of cases. So I think the second thing was us getting a call from the general manager. And then it was like, okay, still no set interview yet, but you're like, we're closer.
That was big, yeah.
We're closer, you hear, oh, he loved you, or, all these things, and you're just like, okay, so like, when are we going to interview? And so I know for us, we love the interview process. I played collegiate basketball, Division I basketball, and, Trey played obviously Division I football. And so for us, it's like, we always have this mindset in our household. We just have to get in front of the people. Like, I'm not worried about, what's for us is for us. Where God wants us, we're going to be. But Lord, just get me in that room, and like, my gifts are going to speak for me. So we knew, just give me that interview, and like, God, it's done. Like, you let me in that room. And so that's really what we were waiting on. And so again, get the call from the general manager. And then it might be, okay, a couple days before you find. Now, mind you, not only does he have to fill me in, but he has to fill his agent in. We have agents who do negotiating on our behalf with the school that we're at.
So when do they hop into the picture?
As soon as every step. So that's why sometimes I don't get secondhand, I get third hand, because he has to call the agent, because the agent has to be the one. Most of the time, your agent, which I encourage every coach, especially minority coaches, to have representation, have an agent who can read the fine print, have an agent who can advocate on your behalf. Now, obviously, it's like when you have to know the point in your career where an agent is absolutely necessary. And so we didn't sign with one until I think the beginning of last season, where it's like, okay, we're getting to the point in our career where you can't do the negotiating yourself. Somebody else needs to read the fine print and needs to be able to negotiate on your behalf to see what you're worth, and to help verbalize that. And so he has to let his agent know everything. So even like the little details that may not even be anything, he's letting his agent know, because the agent is the one that's communicating to the program that you're at. Like, hey, so-and-so's calling and they want to interview Trey, or so-and-so's calling inquiring. Even if it's an inquiry, your agent can reach out and say, hey, I know you gave a contract and we know what it says, but now he's getting reached out to by so-and-so. And so then that program can be like, okay, let's go talk to compliance or let's talk to the athletic director. Maybe we want to get you some more money. So the agents are great. I definitely say have an agent. Representation is so huge and so key. And so he's letting his agent know everything. And so the agent is going back and forth, like even getting after the general manager call. He's letting the department know like, hey, someone's they're interested in Trey. And so then they have to be like, okay, well, we have to now prepare to either maybe give him more money, give him a title, or we have to be prepared to fill his position if we can't do either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned the agent piece, just because as you started talking about the contracts and titles and all of that stuff, I'm like, who is reading this stuff? How am I supposed to know what I need to pay to be bought out or what I need to pay, and then communicating that back and forth? And then when do I let my current school know, and all of that?
Yes, 100%. And that's, and I'll even give an example of that. When we got a contract in hand from the school that we were at, and that was, was given to us like, here, you obviously have a timeline on, I think you have 30 days to sign it. I think, don't quote me, but I think, but at the same time, they knew that we were interviewing for this position as well. And we had that contract in hand too. So the agent is like, hey, I need to read even your previous contract, not the one that you could potentially be signing, but the one that you signed 2 years ago, to make sure that there's no clause in there, like to make sure when does that contract officially end? Because if you sign this new contract even days before that one ends, you potentially have to pay that school some money. Yeah. So it's like, there's a lot of details that go into it. I just encourage it. And then another thing, get an agent that has a law degree, because
it sounds like it.
You need one.
Sounds like absolutely requirement.
Absolutely. Because they're, like I said, they're reading the fine print and they're doing all those things for you. And while you're trying to, let's say, decide, or you're worried about right now as a coach and a man, as a head of your household, you're trying to figure out what's the best thing for my family right now. You don't want to have to sit there and have to read through contracts and that's why the representation is so important. You don't want to have to call and let people know. Like, you already have to do all that. Think about it. If you're leaving a school, you already have to let your players know. You have to call like recruits that are coming in, let their parents, there's so many steps. And then on top of all that, I have to make sure my family's good. So it helps take a little stress off of you by having somebody who can pick up. There's so much that goes into it. So, but yes, that's a big part of it as well. So then maybe you get that phone call from the gym, an interview is coming, but again, it might be a couple days before it's scheduled. And then maybe it gets scheduled in a couple days. In our cases, I think it did. And then it's like, but then the interview's maybe like 5 days from now. So now you're like, you're like,
sitting on pins and needles.
Not only would it probably be 5 days from now, but also like he has to fly to somewhere to do the interview, and you're just like, can I just go in your bag? Can I just go in there? So yeah, and then you get that interview, right? Which I think all of this, our last process, it all happened within maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, but that feels like forever. But then say you get the interview, then you have to wait to get the call that you got it or you didn't. So it's just like, it just becomes super exciting, but you feel like you're sitting on pins and needles for sure.
Yeah. All in the matter of what, 3-4 weeks?
Yes. And sometimes less, sometimes. And like, I want to say some of the faster processes, I'm trying to think in the past, because this is only our second time transitioning, fortunately. And I want to say the last time we transitioned before this, it was during COVID. So it was very, very different. Very different in a sense of he did his interview in our living room on Zoom, and had like a whiteboard up and was going through all of his stuff. And I was upstairs hanging over the balcony of the house, like
watching the
trying to stay out the way. But I was just like trying to listen the whole time, like, did you kill it? Like listening. I don't really know what's going on at this point because we were like fresh. I was fresh into it all and I was like listening. So, and that process was a little quicker because they didn't have to fly him out. They didn't have to fly him out to the school. But still did the interview and then has to wait to hear back to see, do you get the position or do you not? I hope I'm staying on track. And there have also been times where we had interviewed and we didn't get it. And that even was like, you're still, again, sitting on pins and needles. And the thing is, and not always, if you don't get it, you don't always get that phone call saying, hey, sorry, when someone else. You maybe find out when they release whoever they hired.
On the football scoop.
Listen, Pete Thamel is telling you didn't get the job because he's posting who did get the job. So, it's just like, it is a cutthroat business, but at the same time, the transition season, it can be kind of nerve-wracking for a wife because, again, especially a wife with children, because you're like, as soon as he gets the job, I'll tell you our process. So Trey interviewed and then he was offered the job. I want to say, fortunately, I don't know if he was offered the job the next morning, which I was like, praise God, because I couldn't wait any longer. So it was like it was very quick. But he had to fly out to Texas to interview and he didn't come home for 3 weeks. Like, they gave him the job and they immediately were like, you're gonna work. Like, there's no reason.
Taryn, no.
There's no reason for you to go back home for what? He was thinking like I think he even had mentioned to them like, oh yeah, I'll just go home, get some more clothes. And they were like, well, you might not have time for that.
We're gonna give you some clothes.
No, you're not gonna have time for that. And this all also has to do with the time that you're hired. So he was hired, I want to say January, like 22nd or so, or maybe so end of January recruiting, beginning of February recruiting. So they were like, oh no, we need you to actually go start recruiting. So and we ended up doing our contract stuff and getting him cleared, because obviously there's a process to get him cleared to get him to be able to work so that he can be compensated. I think there was like maybe a couple days where he couldn't do anything, and then he was activated. They activated him on the road. He was gone for 3 weeks, didn't come home. So I just thought, hey, bye, he's going for an interview, but I knew he wasn't coming back. I knew. I was just like, I'm not going to see him for a while. So that happens too. It happened our last transition as well. He got the phone call that he got the job, and then the next morning he was flown out there, and I didn't see him for weeks.
So how are you? That takes me to my next question. Like, okay, so he went and interviewed, and then unexpectedly just had to stay. He's there for 3 weeks. Now you're a solo parent for real.
Yes.
Not just solo parent because he's at
right.
work, but solo parent in the state, I'm assuming.
Yeah, real life.
So logistically, how does that work? Like, what's your support system? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So for us, we lived in the Bay Area. I only had one relative there. My husband had no relatives there. I will say I had just welcomed a baby girl too. She was only 3 months old at the time. And then I had a 3-year-old. Now, fortunately enough, I feel like the second child's coming forced me to have to lean into like community. Like when I knew I was going to have the second baby, I was just like, I need to find my 3-year-old a place early preschool. You have to start going to school. Like I just knew with the load of being a coach's wife and the possibilities of, him being gone even for weeks at a time sometimes, I just knew like I needed to lean into community. So that neighbor that also goes to my son's school that was offering me, hey, I can take him to school and our kids are the same age and my son and I trust their parents. I had to lean into her a little more like, yes, can you please take him to school? Yes, school's right up the street. Like it's carpool. The people that were like, hey, can I drop dinner off? And there maybe other coaches' wives. So I will say it was hard, but I did have to lean into a community where like, first child, you're more like, no, I got it. I think the second child broke me a little bit where I was like, okay, the help that I'm being offered, I need to accept. Like I need to take it. But other than that, it was just me. It was just me doing baths at night. It was just me. I'm still getting up 2 to 3 times a night with my daughter and then getting up in the morning and getting like even the carpool situation. I still have to get my son ready for school. I still have to pack lunches. I still have to, I was still doing all the things. He had, there's play days, there's school plays, there's all these things that I'm still attending and also trying to make sure that they don't feel like something is missing, like they don't feel like, dad's outside of the house, but also trying to make it, like, it's okay. You got mom. I'm a cool mom. Like everything's fine. So I would just say that it was a very hard time. And again, he was gone for 3 weeks, but he just came home for like 2 days and then left again. So it was like longer, really. He was gone for much longer. It's just like he was able to come home, get more things, see us real quick, and then had to leave. And so I still had to pack up the house. And then I flew, and then I had to pack up the house. I had just both of them. Oh, I was flying back and forth. I flew twice with them to Texas from the Bay Area. Like, that's not a short flight. So I'm like flying because we decided we wanted to buy a house. So obviously I needed to lay eyes on this house. I need to, I got to see things. They have to come and sign paperwork. And so I flew back and forth twice before actually officially moving. But I would say he got the job, I want to say January 22nd, and we didn't officially move here, me and the kids, till March 7th. And that was quickly, like that was like the quickest week. That was so fast. It was so hard. Now, a lot of times wives will just stay. Like they'll stay maybe for a few months. They won't rush it. They'll take their time. I was just like, I'm just so tired of being so like, I came here March 7th. Our stuff was still on its way because it was being driven from California to Texas. We went to Target, bought like 2-3 air mattresses. We were just all in the mat. We had the keys to the house. We bought it. We were able to close in less than 30 days, which was like super amazing. It was like, praise God, got the house, did things. But we were like, nothing in here, waiting for our stuff. Air mattresses. We had, I think all we had was like a TV that our realtor gifted us after closing. But we like made it work for, I want to say 10 days. It was just me, him, the kids, and our essentials, our suitcases, and nothing else in this house, in an empty house. And we were just so thankful. Like, we're together. We have the house. And when our stuff got here, we were actually so happy. But then the other side of that is, I have to think like, yes, it's hard for me, but it's very hard for them too. Like my husband was staying in hotels for, a month and a half, eating no home cooked meals, was eating out every meal. I think he flew back in town once only when he came to see us shortly, but also his days are long and lonely. He's going to work and then coming back to a hotel,
back to a room with nothing.
So
no family.
The whole transition is definitely difficult, and it takes two people committed. But yeah.
So you closed on a house in less than 30 days.
Yes.
How did you decide that you wanted to buy versus rent? Because making a purchase from out of state, I mean, all the things that go into just buying a house anyway, but now having to do it throughout this transition, your husband's working all the time. How did you guys determine that it was probably better to buy than?
Yeah, so we had decided, me and Trey's, like we talk so much, like we talk about everything. We talk, like, I feel like we try to like run a scenario so many times before it actually happens, before we're transitioning. We had decided like we wanted to buy ahead of time. And that was before we even knew we were moving to Texas. So it was like, we want to buy. And then obviously we'd have this like caveat to, well, it also depends on where we're moving to, because it's like, like that gonna play a big part, how fast we can buy, the whole process. And so maybe you get there and you wait a year and then you buy, whatever. But we just knew we wanted to buy. We just so happened to get the opportunity in Texas. Like, you don't come to Texas and not buy, so it ended up really, really working out, because it was like, we knew we wanted to do it. And then we didn't know it was going to be Texas, but if you want to buy, it better be Texas. So, we were able to do that. I just think it was a God situation. Like, God, like, so perfectly had it carved out for us. And even before we're transitioning, we're running the possibilities of where are we going to go next. And we're like, okay, if it's Texas, we know we're for sure. Like, we ran the possibility of us coming to Texas. Now, obviously there's many schools in Texas. We didn't know which school, but we would go through it. Like, if it's Texas, we're for sure buying. Obviously we're like, okay, if it's LA, we might wait a year. You might just like wait and see, because we also were like, if we buy in an area, we want it to be an area that we would love to come back to. Like, so Fort Worth is an area like you would love to come back to. Maybe you even keep your house and you rent it out to a good family. So yeah, that's really how we knew, like, okay, we're buying. We're going to buy, is because for sure was when we knew we were coming to Texas.
So you run into scenarios.
Yes, we run so many scenarios. It's annoying sometimes though. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even, because he gets crazy with the scenarios. Like I feel like I stay with him.
They can go in so many different ways.
They can, and then their wheels are turning because they know the ins and outs, and they even know like the other coaches. He could go here, and then that means this would open up this. And I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, I just don't even tell me until it's an actual possibility, because it can
because then I'm getting my hopes
right.
up.
It can get exhausting, but this couldn't have been a better place for us to come to after leaving the Bay Area. Honestly, it couldn't have.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Okay, with the move, we talked about some of the challenges that happened. What's been some of the biggest joys or unexpected joys that you've had?
Throughout this process, I would say buying our first home together. That was like exciting and unexpected. I would say also like the program that we're a part of, like the people are just so amazing, and you kind of don't have any expectations when you go to a new place because every place has its pros and cons, but the people definitely took me by surprise. They just were just so thankful that we were coming, and were so kind to my kids, like welcome gifts. Like it just felt like home. And it's so strange to say it, but like home straight off the bat. And I was just like, wow, that's so exciting. And then it was so funny because I had mentioned I have an uncle in the Bay Area, and that's like my only relative there, but he was amazing help my entire 4 years there. I'm like, I only had an uncle, but if it was watching my son, he's in his mid-30s and has no kids, so it was like totally gung-ho to do anything. I mean, if Trey was gone and I needed him to maybe pick something up, he was just so much help. Now, if he's not in the Bay, he's always in Dallas because he works out of Dallas and he works out of the Bay. So it was just like, wow, we would be going to Dallas where like you're talking about buying a house here. You work here all the time. Like my son gets to still see you. And that was so exciting. It just felt like we were supposed to be here. Honestly, there was just a lot of little things that kept
definitely.
just like kept happening. That was just like leading to, this is where you're supposed to be. And, you may not have a bunch of family here, but this is the place where I will send people that will feel like family for you.
Awesome. That just speaks to how we can make all the plans, have all the ideas, have all the scenarios. And then it's so special to kind of see God's plan unfold.
Absolutely.
And just kind of sit back and like, oh my gosh, you worked that out better than I could have even planned for myself.
100%. Even with finances and stuff, like I know that when sometimes coaches get contracts that they aren't happy with, and they're like, Lord, why is this? What is going on? But then they get a phone call later on that's like the exact number that they were looking for. It's just like God just answers your prayer. Like he just makes sure that it works out. He makes sure that he increases you where increase is deserved. And I don't know, his grace is just good. So we couldn't have anticipated all this, but definitely was like an answered prayer. And, I think in the Bay, my biggest thing was like, my babies need a backyard, Lord. Like they need to, like, we're outgrowing this place. Like when we moved to the Bay Area, it was just me and Trey. We didn't have kids. So we got like a little townhouse, 3-bedroom, but you know how they're built up. Like there's like stairs. It's like built all the way up. We had like 3 flights of stairs in a 2,000 square foot house, meaning like most of it was stairs. And so, it just felt like in 4 years we were outgrowing it. We had 2 kids. I was like, I want them to have space to run, for us to have space to grow in. And then it was like shortly after welcoming our second baby that we were afforded the space. Like we were able to not only get the space, but buy this space, have this space in our name. And so I just think God is so gracious and he hears you. But not only that, like he hears you before you even ask. He's like already has the plan ready. He's like, I already know what you're going to need. And I'm already prepared. Like it'll be well, essentially. And so that's, but all that to say, like transition season is very, very difficult. I mean, there's so much I feel like I could hit on, but some people have to stay behind because maybe financially they can't even move right away. But most schools do give you some sort of moving stipend so that you're not just like coming out of pocket for your, like with your entire move. Now you may still have to come out of pocket a little bit. So maybe they have to wait like a couple months or even a few months. I know some wives who stayed 6 months behind to let their kids finish school. I think it gets harder when your kids are older. And so, yeah, it's a hard season. It's like a hold your breath season. It's like a don't blink season. But once you get on the other end of it, you're like, because I just remember having both the kids and being there with the movers and overseeing things, but still like trying to take care of my kids. And, my husband's calling me, like seeing if everything's okay every hour. And I'm just like, I just can't wait till this is over.
Just over.
Then you have to get here, then you have to unpack things. But I mean, that's least of my worries is because I'm here though, like the boxes we'll get there, but I'm here. So, and then it always is.
Now I can root here.
Yeah. And I think when the truck came with our things, it was actually Trey's spring break. So he was home the entire week. So I was like,
to help you.
Oh God, he was literally here to delegate, to facilitate. And I remember him even saying like, while he was there and they were, they have to put the boxes away, but they need somebody who has to like account for the boxes. Anyways, he was just like, this is hard. Like you couldn't have did this by yourself. And I was just like, I did it by myself, getting it here. It was just as hard. Like, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm thankful you're here. But it was just like this, getting the stuff here, which I did have to do by myself. But you realize how much easier it is when there's two. And so, oh my gosh, I was just so happy he was here. And it just felt like, but still, again, I still am breastfeeding a 4-month-old at this point, waking up 2 times a night. I remember being like so exhausted. It would just be like, as soon as I laid my head down on that pill. And then during the transition season too, is like my son was 3 and he was regressing in his sleep. So he was coming in my bed every night. It was just everything that you could think was, happening. It was happening. And I was like, okay, God, I guess I'm your strong soldier this year.
Well, that's a good perspective to have.
I mean, but he gives you the grace to overcome it and get through it. So I just feel like it ended up working out.
So family is together. How do you establish community in this new place? You talked about the staff and them being super welcoming, but how do you establish community? Do you have friends there? How do you find friends in this new area?
Yeah. So for me, like personally, a gym is like, I like my pods, like my little community of people. So I'll have like my gym friends, which I always like to find a gym and join classes. Like I like group workout classes. I will be friends with the 80-year-old woman in the class and the 19-year-old. Like I have friends of all ages at the gym. Those are my girls. Those are my ladies. Like we'll do gym and lunch after, and they don't even know how old I love them. They're so amazing. I remember in the Bay Area, the Bay Club was like my gym, and I would go there pregnant. And after I had the baby, they're like, where's the baby? Want to see the picture? I mean, I had to bring the baby to the gym just so they could see who was in my womb while I was working out with them the entire time. So I have my gym community, which I'm still establishing, but I feel like it's on the horizon. Like I'm gonna get it's almost there. Sometimes it takes time, but so that's a good way to have community, and it's a good way to clear your mind, get away from your kids, take care of yourself as a mom. So I definitely encourage that. Then you have your mom friends where you do the play dates with. Maybe they go to your kids' school and we just take our kids places, or, they maybe come over. And that is another part of the community. I don't like to mix communities either. If you're a gym friend, I don't want us to also play with our kids.
That's just weird.
I don't like mixing. So then you have your mom friends, then you have your coaches' wives. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that you click with more than the others, and that's your person you hang out with on the side, or you go to lunch with, or so you have that community. And then I always have my church community, and where it's a woman of faith. So even if it's 2 in each or 1 in each, that's enough for me. A gym friend, my mom friend, my church friend, and my coach's wife friend. I feel like that's what I had in the Bay Area. Even I made friends in the Bay Area with my esthetician, and she would do my brows, she would do my she would do all my things, and then we would go out to lunch after. But that was our thing. And so I feel like for me, it's not hard to build community, because I like to have my hands in things. Like I said, the gym, the ministry, and then of course you just show up to the same coaching stuff if you're a coach's wife. So that's how I go about community. Now, again, it does take time sometimes. So I don't get frustrated if, okay, I've been in a space for 4 months and I don't really get frustrated. I just know it's going to happen organically. I don't force it. And so I'm just like, when I find my people, I find my people. And, they're there. They're great. God places them in your life and I have fun. Yeah.
That they're for
sure.
Teryn, I forgot to ask you. I asked all of my guests the icebreaker question and then sort of like a wrap-up question. But for the icebreaker question, coming to the game, so what's one thing that people wouldn't know about you if you just show up to your husband's game? They see you for the first time. What's one thing that people wouldn't get just by seeing you?
I don't think people would know how young I am. Because...
Oh, you get that a lot?
Yes, all the time. When I tell people my age, they're like, no way. Like, even...
They think you're older or they think you're younger?
They think I'm old. I think because they see me in mom mode, they see me in wife mode, they see me doing these things as if I'm very seasoned in it, which I have been doing it for a long time, but I got married at 23 years old. So, that's younger than most people. Now I just feel like nowadays, like my generation, they're not a lot of people getting married that young, but also I had to grow up a little quicker, because I remember getting married and then 2 months later we were moving to a new state for his job. And I remember being like, wait, I have to go pick out a place for us to live because you're working? Oh, okay. I remember having to call my mom and be like, what do I do? She's like, okay, you need to call and make sure the electricity is on. You need to make sure the recycle, your guys' name is transferred for the recycling, the trash. You need to put your guys' names on the bills. I had to do all of those things independent from him because he had to work. And so I feel like I had a lot of experience with it under my belt, where I think a lot of people don't have to really worry about those things until later. I don't know. I'm not speaking for everybody, but I just know that there was things that I had to grow up. Now, I got married to him also fresh out of my master's degree too. So I was just like a student, and then I was a married woman, and then I was
taking care of a whole house.
Yes. Yeah. Then I was having my first kid. And so, it just thinks, so I would say my age. People are always like, okay, there's no way. And I'm like, yeah. But not only that, I don't know if it would surprise people, but right now I am primarily a stay-at-home mom, but I do hold a master's degree. I played 6 years of college basketball. I worked on my women's basketball staff, and I wanted to go into coaching myself. And so being on the wife side of this, for me, is just I love it because it's what I wanted to do. And so for me, I don't know if that would necessarily surprise people, but that is something that I don't think that people know about me, is the game. I like to study the game.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I had no clue you played basketball.
No, I did.
Or
my entire life. Played it my entire life. Went to school for it. I lived in Ohio. I'm a California girl, moved all the way to Ohio for school. And people were like, what are you doing here? I'm like, and so I traveled a lot around the East Coast for the sport. I went out the country for the sport. I just did so many things. And so I also think it gives me an advantage when it comes to being how to support my husband in it, because I've been in it on the coaching side. I've been in it on a player side. I've been in it. I just feel like I can relate to it. And so it's exciting for me. Sometimes I feel like we talk about sports too much in my household. But for him and I, it's literally it never gets old. It doesn't get old. It's even studying the game. If he's breaking down film or anything, I want to watch it. I want to know what is this and why is this and why is this, and not just because I don't know. But for me, it's I can't watch if I don't understand. And I think that's the player in me. It's if I don't understand something, then I'm you need to explain that to me, because it's going to drive me crazy if I'm watching it in a game. So I think that's what people wouldn't I'm not just a fan of it because I'm a coach's wife. I literally, my grandfather was in the NFL. My mom was a Division I track runner. So it's in my blood. So
it's just in your blood.
It truly is.
It's in your blood. And then you got married.
Yeah, it did. It's so funny because I'll talk to my grandma about even coach's wife stuff. And she's like, I remember it from she was an NFL wife. She remembers it from her perspective. And so sometimes we'll talk about our experiences, and it's so funny. I'm having these conversations with my grandma, but she's like, you're literally doing everything I did. We moved every 2 to something years. She's like, just gave me the whole thing. And I'm like, wow, I just really think that I couldn't have gotten away from it if
You didn't have a choice.
I literally did not have a choice. But I do love it. It has its difficult seasons, of course. And even this is something I don't think people understand. You have your seasons of disconnect with your partner because of it. Like, because maybe he's gone all day for six months straight, or stressed, or they're not having a good season. That can absolutely impact your household. It can impact your marriage.
Absolutely.
And so you do have to approach a lot of things intentionally. And even with approaching it intentionally, you may go through a season of disconnect, but it's just understanding, like, I had to learn that it's just a season. And as long as one of us is giving, like, I always say this, I'm like, we can't be both at 30. Like, one of us has to be at 70 and the other at 30. Like, if you come home and you only have 30, then I need to be the other 70. But we can't both be at 20%, because then this doesn't work.
I'm so glad you talked about that. I can't wait to have you back on the show, because I feel like you bring in a whole nother perspective.
Oh my gosh, I would love it. I'll lock my kids away next time. But I think it's good because people know, like, listen, it's not perfect. We don't always have nannies and babysitters and all these things. Like, sometimes they're just there and you're just like, oh God.
And you got to make it work, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So my last question, I'm gonna let you get back to your kids and also your hubby. What's your, like, game day MVP? So you have 2 kids. When you go to the game, it could be a toy for them. It could be like special treat for them, for yourself. What's your game day MVP that you just can't live without?
That's a good one. So it's interesting because my son, TJ, was born in January. So by the time he experienced his first football season, he was already like 8-9 months. But even 3 seasons in, he's the easiest kid on game days, because he just wants to sit on my lap, and that's until he don't want to do anything. He doesn't want a tablet. He just wants to sit. He gets and he's not like a shy kid. Like, when he gets in the arena, he watches the game. He watches, and he sat on my lap the entire time. So I would just say snacks. Snacks was my biggest thing. Like, I'm just like the snack lady. Like, here. As long as he had snacks, he was always super, super good. So I couldn't live without a bag full of snacks. Like, that was my go-to for, he's coming right now. Yeah. Yes. You want to, he said, Mommy, I want a snack.
Perfect.
But for myself, I feel my most comfortable when I look good. So I just have to go to the games looking good. Like, that's my MVP, is like, if I show up and I have the fit, or, hair, and sometimes the fit could just be a nice sweatsuit, but as long as I feel comfortable, I feel comfortable. So I would just say, like, I have to look good in order to feel good, and then I focus good, and then my kids are good, and then everything feels better for me. It feels better for me.
Yeah.
So snacks.
Okay, Teryn.
And looking good.
And self-care.
Self-care.
Looking good.
Yeah.
I love it. So thank you for joining me for this episode. But I want to close out. I know you're into social media, so where can everyone find you? Okay, so on everything, I'm Taryn, TARYN _Monique, MONIQUE. So that's on everything. TikTok, Instagram, Threads, X, like everything. So, and I'm pretty active on TikTok and Instagram. So that's absolutely where you can find me. And you're hilarious on them all.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you for joining us. If this episode of Whistles and Wives spoke to you or you enjoyed it, please subscribe, write a review, like, comment, or share with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.